All right, welcome to another episode here of Relationship Status, where we talk about all things young love, both the good and the bad. We got two very special guests on the show today, some of my closest friends actually. One from college and one I actually recently met in New York. I'll let them introduce themselves, but before we do that, the first thing we always got to ask here on the show is, what's your relationship status?
Hi, I'm Zara. I'm from Boston, but I'm living in New York, and I'm single.
Hi, I'm Ben. I am living in New York, and I am single. Originally from Lexington, Massachusetts, as is Zara. She should specify.
Cool.
Battle of Lexington and Concord.
It's the birthplace of the American
Ben, you do a little bit more, right? You do something that's pretty interesting. You want to promote yourself a little bit?
I do, yeah. Musically, I'm known as Muffo. I am a hip-hop artist. Come to my next show. Check me out. Spotify, YouTube, etc., etc.
Let's go. We'll leave a link down below.
Please, yeah,
for sure. So without further ado, actually,
my profession, because it's not a
no. I just want you to live below. I know you like that. Hey, well, play yourself in. What does selfie do?
No one wants.
I'm seriously, you want to promote that? All right, yeah, we'll put a link to our resume down below.
Yes, get actually on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is actually crazy. This is our fifth rendition. Yeah, so we've been, some background. We've been trying to shoot this episode for a month now, so I'm very excited we finally get to do it because
it's been brewing for a long time.
It's been brewing for a minute. And they're really great. So we got some stuff to unpack. All right.
We have a high bar.
Yeah, the high bar is set. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the topic today. New York. Why is it so hard? Anecdotally speaking, I feel for both men and women today when it comes to the dating scene. I feel like a lot of people are struggling. You see nice, beautiful young women with great careers, great personalities, and they just are unable to find, a match, right? And on the other side, men also, going on several Hinge dates and, not finding any success. And also, I see a lot of men that maybe it's a little lost because they are, lost to the sauce. So there's so many opportunities that's for them to kind of throw themselves in bliss. And then it ends up being a positive feedback loop that both affects men and women, vice versa, or, unilaterally. So curious what you guys' thoughts are, but before we actually deep dive into the analysis of it, how would you guys tell us a little bit about your experience, dating in New York? If you're comfortable with sharing that with the crowd today.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to go first?
Sure. Dating experience. I have a little bit.
I have a little, probably less, and a big reason for that is I just took a year to study for the LSAT, which is really lame. No one should do it, but it just kind of cut me out from dating. I think that was something that I had to cut out in terms of my social circle and my social life. So I feel like that was a really interesting break where I got to hear so many stories from my friends who were going through it, but I was removed from the situation. And then I think that was sandwiched by 6 months of dating before studying and then 6 months of dating now. And it's been really interesting. It's all very casual. I'm leaving in 2 months. And so it's an interesting state of mind to be in because I think I'm in a situation where I'm ready for something. I feel like I'm emotionally ready for a connection, but I'm leaving. So there's no practicality for finding someone that I might have that with. And so it's an interesting situation to be in because I'm okay, it's something that I think I would like, but there's no practicality of it. And so I think it's on hold, but I'm very okay with that. I think I'm about to go travel for a year, and I think that'll be a really fun social experience. And I'm curious how dating will happen outside of New York because it really has only been in New York that I've experienced it. So that I think for the most part, that's my experience.
Yeah, I want to unpack that a little bit before we go to you that. But so it's interesting because when you first got here to New York, right? You entered this 2-year program.
Yeah.
Right, and you already knew that you were basically going to leave.
Yes.
So how did that impact your question, right?
Okay.
And the fun because I'm also. So why are you? How do you think that's impacted your view on dating in New York? Made it easier or harder to trade together?
For me, 2 years here would have been enough to establish a relationship. I think that would have been totally fine. So when I got here, I was dating. I was talking to people and I wasn't really on the apps because I wasn't actively looking for something, but I was I was talking to mutual friends. I was like meeting people like through my social circle, but I wasn't ready for a relationship and I did not want anything serious. And so I think because of that, like it just closed my mind off to all those things. And then I embarked on this like 1 year journey of like really just prioritizing like work and really close friends and not really expanding beyond that. And then when I got out of that, I only had 6 months left in New York. But it was interesting because after coming out of that, I was like, oh, I think I'm ready for something a little bit more committed now, or at least something where I feel like I have a strong connection with someone else. And now that I'm in that headspace, I'm leaving. And so I'm like, I don't really want to invest in anything. Like there's no practicality to investing in anything. And so I think it's kind of, it's a little frustrating because I'm like, okay, it's something that I think I would like, but I can't have it. And then I'm also really excited for having a year of just exploring and like traveling and things like that. So I think the timeline is interesting, but I think the timeline is also like the reason why I wasn't able to engage in like in dating while I was studying, I think is also just because of like the nature of New York, which we'll probably get into later. I think had I been studying in a different city or had I been working in a different city, I think I would have been able to do all three.
Absolutely interesting.
Absolutely. That's very
Did
interesting.
you say interesting?
Interesting.
Oh, that's good. Not enough.
That's good. Damn, I kind of want to keep unpacking.
Yeah,
I kind of want to keep unpacking these other stuff. Like, that's kind of the first thing I want to ask you is, why do you think that wasn't possible to do all three in New York?
Yeah.
And then secondly, actually, let's start with that.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to that question.
Okay, I think
Because the whole point is to understand why New York is difficult, right?
Yes,
So, or with your...
I think a core reason that one of the biggest reasons why it's so difficult to date in New York is because everyone comes here, even if you have other things that you're excited for about the city, I think ultimately everyone comes here because they want to progress their career and that's their priority. Nobody, unless you have like so much money and you're just coming to spend it.
Wow.
That's a bold plan.
You have to be here because you're prioritizing your career, right? Like ultimately,
It's true for you.
Well, I'm in a different situation because I'm married. So like I came here and I had the fortune of being able to focus on just my career and then like chasing, or not chasing, but like looking for, a partner. And so,
yes, yeah.
but you're saying,
But I think my point is more so like New York is a hub, and New York is just it's at the top of every industry. And pre-professionally, like in medicine and law and business, like this is where you come to get your foot in the door and to hustle. And so like that's going to be everyone's priority. I don't think anyone is willing to sacrifice like time meeting someone new over time investing in their career in the beginning stages. And it takes a lot of time to establish a relationship, right? So it takes a lot of prioritizing the relationship over prioritizing yourself. And people here want to prioritize themselves, as they should. But I do think that plays a really big role. I think another reason why it's difficult to date in New York, as you had mentioned before, is because unlike other cities, in this city, you will always know 10 people in very different circles. And so like that idea of like a really closed knit social circle is not as common. And so you don't see people as often.
Interesting.
And so like unlike Dallas or Atlanta or Philly, where your social circle is like very routine, it's very core because there just are not as many like people flowing in and out.
yeah.
You like in any of those other cities, you would spend 5 hours in the week with someone that you're getting to know. But here I maybe spend like 5 hours every month with someone that I'm getting to know.
100%.
100%. And I think that's another big one. It takes a lot of time. Like it's not so much how often you get to see someone or anything like that. It's like really just how many hours you get to spend with them, getting to know them. And you have to want to commit that time to them over anyone else. But if I have like family and friends who are coming in and out every weekend, I'm probably never going to prioritize someone I don't know.
Especially when you're trying to prioritize your career at the same time.
Especially when I'm trying to prioritize my career at the same time. And back to your question of why it was so difficult to manage both, I think the biggest reason I had a hard time studying in New York was because I was working full time and I was studying. So my weekdays were packed, right? And then if you're like involving self-care, like I have 1 hour in the day to go to the gym. I come home and like there's no social energy for me to interact with someone. And then on the weekends, I'm studying. And if the only time that I have is dinner there's not a situation in my mind where I imagine I wouldn't choose to spend it with one of you over like someone else.
Absolutely.
Like it would never happen.
Wow.
I don't necessarily agree with the second point.
Okay, challenge.
Interesting.
I challenge it. I mean, that's if it's not love at first sight. If you're like seeing someone often and you need a lot of time to get engaged with them, but you can still be bouncing around different social circles and be intrigued by someone and set aside separate time for them.
Yes. Yes. I think that's what happened though to me was like in that year that I was studying, I didn't put myself in situations where I was meeting people outside of my social circle because I just wanted quality time with my friends. So it wasn't like I wasn't going to parties or pre-games. I was really just like having one-on-one time.
That's true. We're doing that a lot.
That makes sense.
Actually, that's very true.
Yeah,
What I needed at the time.
that totally makes sense.
But I agree with you.
It's very interesting. I wonder if your situation is unique to you, given your circumstance and your personality set, and if this is applicable in a broader sense, right?
Wait, elaborate.
I think it's purely a time situation. Like I've been in your shoes when there's so much time being taken up. You don't want to exercise time and energy in like, you don't have time in that sphere. Like in your pie chart, you don't have like a section where you want to be exploring romance. You don't have the time for that.
Right. And the reason is, I'm like what I was trying to say to you, Zara, is like, because your personality is you crave that quality downtime with, one-on-one with friends, right? Yeah. I'm a little bit different where like, I don't like spending time with I don't spend tons of time with my friends, but like, I enjoy that. I can enjoy that equally in group settings as I do like on one-on-ones because I'm very extrovert. I'm very like, and I like being in busy areas and like, that's the environment I enjoy hanging out with my friends in, and that's how I view quality time. And then like, I feel like people who maybe a little bit more loose in terms of like the amount of people or the frequency with which they're going to visit many people, that may impact or widen their scope of ability to be able to date and to influence or allow more people to enter their friend group, right? Because like when I think about, okay, I'm going to date somebody, I don't think about, I'm going to date that person and like that's a segment of my life. Like when I was started to Kiana, she wasn't a segment of my life. I brought her into every friend group. I brought her into almost everything I was doing. So it was more of a seamless transition. And so that's why I was wondering if maybe what you're saying, if it's applicable to a lot of people in New York, or if it's more to your personality, right? And I don't know, I feel like it could be 50-50. I feel like the time on this stuff.
I think I'm going to challenge that because I totally see what you mean and I agree that, but I'd for sure consider myself an extrovert as well.
That's true.
But I think the difference is when I was studying for my test, I had this huge insecurity that all my friends were going to forget about me. And that, because I just like wasn't doing anything social and I was really afraid that I would be left out when that year ended. Or just that I was lose touch with a lot of friends. And so for me, the way that I wanted to capitalize on the time that I did have free to spend with my friends was to hear about the updates in their life, to like make sure that it was time that was like actually spent conversing and not just like going to a party together or anything like that, because that wouldn't have satisfied like the friend connection. And I didn't want to spend time around people I didn't know. It's not that it wouldn't have given me energy. It would have, but I don't think it would have satisfied that fear of like.
That's why you create quality time with friends.
Quality time is like definitely love language for me. And so I love the pregame, right? Because that's where you're having conversations, you're talking to people, you're getting to connect with them and hear about their life updates and things like that. But I wasn't really interested in just like going out and like not having like the conversation aspect was the really important part to me.
That's true.
Let's ask ChatGPT, shall we?
But like based on Myers-Briggs.
Okay, I'm too lazy to actually search that. But
my answer to why is it hard to date in New York City was similar to yours, but I was going to say it different. I was going to say people are obsessed with their independence in New York City, which is very correlated to what you said, which is they're very focused on their work. But they also come to be independent, I feel like. 7 or 8 months ago for all the listeners. But I feel like people that I'm around don't want to get locked down by someone. Like if they're on the apps or if they're dating, they're scared to take that step of like becoming exclusive.
Wow.
Oh, I have an interesting question. Maybe it's not interesting, but do you think it's a bigger step to go from talking to being exclusive or from exclusive to dating?
Talking to going exclusive. Easily.
You agree? I agree.
Once you're exclusive.
Yeah, definitely talking about exclusive. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I mean, when you're exclusive to dating, I feel like you're already like kind of there. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's really just about, hey, you want to official or no.
Yeah.
Talking about exclusive is when when you like now are taking that big step. Like, okay, listen, I'm gonna be committed.
Yeah.
Because like it's harder to get out of the commitment once you said you're committed versus like, you know, going an extra layer of commitment when you've already been committed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I want to know more a little bit about your what you call it, like why. Okay, so
People wanting to be independent.
people want to be independent. Are you saying that like there's friends that you're like people that you've observed, or are you saying this like for yourself, like the people you've talked to in the past 7 to 8 months, the girls you talked to?
No, I'm mostly saying circle of friends.
Several friends.
That like are scared to take the step to exclusivity.
They just like they confide in you and they these things like that. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know why it's such.
I feel like it's common. I mean, I feel like you guys would agree that
Yeah.
people don't want to date, or they also think that this stage of our lives, meaning 22 to 26, is like the single years of your life. And like there's a mindset, oh, like there's time to be with someone later. You can have the rest of your life for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have friends that
I've got mass, but I don't agree with. I agree with that, but I don't agree with why anyone would choose to like talk to someone like once or twice and not like and then not decide not to like unless it was like, okay, I like genuinely just don't find a connection with you.
That's what I was gonna say.
I'm like, why would somebody want to settle for like the mediocrity of like
Yeah.
the first 4 dates? Those are like never the best. They're never, you know what I mean? So that doesn't make sense to me.
It's just for like, it's for a range of things. Probably for curiosity, for you want to like keep meeting new people.
Yeah.
You want to keep having experiences.
Yeah.
Some people just want to. Some people, it's a mix.
Hey, dude. Appreciate it.
I do agree with you about what you said, like that there's not a rush anymore. I think a huge reason why like this idea of like, okay, I want to be married before I'm 30, I need to have kids by this age, is because people used to, life expectancy used to be like 50 years old.
Yeah.
So there was a huge rush to get all of that done. Now it's like 80 years old.
Wow.
There's no rush anymore. There's so much more time for your single years.
Yeah.
And so I think that's also like a big.
That's a good point. Well, that's a very good point. I never thought about the life expectancy.
I just not think.
I always thought about it from like more of the fun, like I feel like that's more of a back end approach to of thinking. That's very interesting. I'm always added more terms though, like people just they are more focused on their careers
Because of a reason. There's a reason.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I thought it was because people are, women are now more senior in the workplace. People are like focusing more on their careers, birth control, etc. Like those are the reasons why people just aren't having, settling down kids. Something I think also is really impacting this idea of like, I don't have to just settle for this person that just met, even if they have like all the perfect quality, even if they have like 80% of the qualities. Like I think, we are so. I feel like there's so many avenues now in today's world where you can, or at least have the segue to try to find the perfect person for you. And, we think about Hinge, right? Like to the point where they have multiple filtrations, right? Like multiple filtrations to like basically line up the person you want. Want someone in finance, who's this talk, who's this height. You know what I mean? And it's like, you're literally swiping past bodies of people, and it's like this person's like 80% what I want. I'm not gonna. Yeah, he's a nice guy, but let me do 100%. And what people are, missing out on is that you can probably be with like 70% of the people that you actually talk to.
Okay, so
if you allow them to mold into the person that you ideally want them to be.
Absolutely. So many. I listened to this really interesting podcast the other day that talked about like why the apps are so bad for your mental health. And a huge reason, there was so many, I'll list some of them, but like one of the reasons was because we're living in a world where like we're being told by technology, literally listing out, the apps are just another method of rejection. Every day you're listing out your resume, you're putting it out there, and we're allowing yourself the opportunity to be rejected by people anywhere from like 10 to 100 times per day. And then rejection is redirection. So rejection is redirection. You know.
Good job putting yourself out there.
Rejection is redirection.
Keep doing it.
Maybe in other areas though.
But similarly, like we are judging people based on their resume. And when you take a resume, when you meet someone naturally in person, you are always looking for qualities that you appreciate. You're rarely looking, and you might identify qualities you don't like, but when you recognize a quality in someone that you've just met on the street randomly that you appreciate, it creates a bigger impression in your mind versus when you are meeting someone on an app and you see their resume, when you have a list of all these qualities, so you already know things that you're expecting to see, versus when you meet someone randomly, you have the blank sheet of paper and you are just choosing to take the things that you enjoy and put them on that piece of paper. You have a resume and you have a list of things that you are expecting to see. You are looking for reasons to say, oh, they don't actually have this. Oh, they don't actually have this. And it creates a really negative impression. Wow. Right? And it makes you really skeptical and pessimistic of other people. Absolutely. So I think that's a huge thing too.
It's all part of that feeling.
Exactly.
It's really interesting.
I don't even like how you said 80%. How you put it in a number of like how qualified they are. Like there should never be to the Jews. I just came back from Israel. I just came back from the Holy Land. But I mean,
What's the quote?
I don't like Azar laughing at me.
Oh, so I
wrote my listen.
Yeah.
I wrote a thesis called Articulation, which is about like how to more purely express ourselves and how everybody should search for their unique mode of expression. And I talked about that in oral speech and through art. Like when people are doing their art, how are they expressing themselves in the most pure way? And how does the way we speak to each other or the way we do art show us who we are?
Okay.
No, the Kanye quote is something like we need, like in the future, we're not even going to have words to like express ourselves. We're not even going to have an interview. There's going to be like some higher art form of like dance or movement or like body language that goes through words. See, I'm taking this on a lot of other levels.
Okay.
But I think words are limiting in that way. And in that way, a Hinge account for something is extremely limiting.
No.
A percent, like 80% were compatible, is non-existent in my mind.
Yeah.
It's, did we connect? Did we not connect? What did you like about her?
That's right.
I didn't have words for that. Even someone I was with,
I like this. This is very interesting.
even if someone I was with for like the relationship, 6 months, someone's like, oh, what's she like? What do you like about her? I don't like that question.
I disagree. Respectfully.
Okay. We love disagreements.
You know,
We really love them on this show.
So, well, first to just tackle onto the Hinge thing, I think 100% into our lives more casually from the app as opposed to like meeting them in this really isolated situation and expecting them to meet all our resume.
It's exhausting.
Like, instead, just like bring them into a situation that makes it as casual as possible and integrate them into your life so you can see how they fit into it and things like that. And then I love the question, what did you like about them?
I was gonna say I can.
I actually like love even my friends who I love platonically. I can list
Multiple.
for anyone that you ask me about. I can tell you right now 5 things that are like really niche that I love that they do.
right. It's also a part of me that doesn't want to like limit.
Yeah, I see.
I don't want to live through words. It's like,
Yeah. The words aren't able to express how you really feel. Like you think about. Yeah. I mean, quite literally. I mean, yeah. You are. I mean, I don't know if the words I'm itemizing, but
yeah, I know.
so in your picture, is like, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you think?
So it's commoditizing. Yeah, it's a little commoditizing. It's like, hey, this is like, what do you think about this one? What do you think about this one? Like, it's a little inappropriate.
And obviously,
Well,
like, oh, let me put it one table
speaking.
Never put a name to a face. Okay. It's not even about the face. It's about the soul.